Hello, good morning, wherever you are in this world, and welcome to today's live. I'm all going to be talking about, are you a high vibration person or are you just positive? And I'm going to be sharing 10 signs to know the difference, because here's the thing. What I'm seeing out with a lot of people right now is they've got a really positive mindset and they're really trying to achieve success and fulfillment in their career and probably every other area of their life. But unfortunately, they're working from a low vibration and they're not getting the results that they want. What this can look like is if you are somebody who's been working really, really hard, doing all the things, showing up, like I said, keeping that positive mindset, but you're still not getting to where you want to be. So stay tuned. This is going to be an exciting live. I'm really looking forward to this because I really feel I actually hadn't planned on doing this live, but it was from feedback from all of you that I went, okay, I need to do this. I need to share this information. So if you are here live, I would love for you to say hi, even if we've never connected before. I'd love to see you're here. And if you're somebody I'm connected to and who has been following me, love to hear from you as well. Any questions you have, please share them in the comments. Any feedback or anything you're sharing you're really resonating with. Because here's the thing. There are so many of you who are wanting to make changes. And one of the ways we do it, and really how we help raise each other's frequency, which is what this is all about, is we actually connect with like-minded people who are on the same path, who are committed to actually changing their frequency. This is how we do it. We are all energetically connected, so it's super powerful. So please connect, share. This is how we create change in the world. Awesome. Hello, Paula, Helen, Bianta. Hope I spelled that. Hi from Chad. Wow, awesome. So glad you're here. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to be mentioning 10 ways to tell the difference if you are vibrating from a low or high frequency. Now, it took me about a minute and a half, if I'm being really honest, to come up with 10. There's so many of them, but I really brought it down to about 10 of the most common ones I see. So this, again, I said, is perfect if you are somebody who's been trying to get results, but you're just not getting them, even though you've got this positive mindset. I'm not going to go too much into the energetics on this live simply because I did one about a month ago about why this is so important, but just to understand, to say it really briefly, is that we are all energetic beings. We are not just our minds. And a lot of our society and our culture it's been very logical based, mind based. But the truth of the matter is we are emitting a frequency at all times, and it's our whole body. It's our whole being. And when we are only focusing on a mindset, we are only focusing on one thing. And so our whole energetic being could be in direct conflict with what our mind is saying. And that's why this conversation is so important, because we attract situations, people, jobs, careers, whatever it might be, based on our vibrational frequency, not our mindset. And yes, mindset is a piece of the puzzle, but it absolutely is not everything. And what happens is if you are vibrating in a low frequency, it can feel like you're stuck. So you're in this loop continually of trying to make change, but it's like you just can't get out of first gear. That's what being in low frequency, that's how it really shows up in your life. And you can let me know if this is something that resonates with you. So before I dive into these 10 things, I'd love to know where y'all sitting at, like in terms of, say, a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is I am just, starting to learn about what my frequency is, to 10, like I'm a total master at this. Where do you feel like you are right now in learning about how to raise your frequency and how to know where you're sitting at? I'd love to hear. It helps me when I'm sharing to know how much to share. So I'd love to hear that in the comments. Now, before I go into the 10 things as well, I want to introduce myself. If you are new to my world, my name is Andrea Horvath, and I'm a career transition coach. And I help ambitious women figure out what career or business has their name written all over it, and I help them make that transition. Now, I'm definitely different than probably most career coaches out there in that I do focus on frequency, because we're in a place on our planet right now. Well, the frequency in the planet's changing. And so many of the strategies we've been doing in the past simply won't work. And with me and with the clients I work with, it's really about connecting you back to you, because we've been conditioned in this world to look outside everywhere, look at outside for validation, all these different things. When if you want to feel really fulfilled, truly fulfilled in your heart and your soul, you have to connect with you first. So that's the basis of absolutely everything I do and everything I am. And hence, that's how I'm on this live today talking about energy. And I just briefly want to talk about just how I got to this point and why I'm so passionate about it, but also, my journey to being able to teach this is, I began my journey with energy in 2006, very haphazardly. My daughter was actually ill and a naturopath helped her. And part of it was energy healing. And I saw my daughter transform before my eyes. And so it was one of those things where I was like, wow, this energy thing is not woo-woo. It's not this weird thing up there. Like, this stuff is real. And then in 2011, I really started to transform my life when I really got deep into understanding energy. And I've been working on my frequency for a very long time, very long time. So I just wanted to share that's kind of the perspective that I come from. I used to be a CPA in the corporate world. And so I've shifted my own career to being a self-employed coach. And to be really honest, there's a whole strategy that I used to make that transition, but a big part of it was me being able to raise my frequency. And that is why I am so incredibly passionate about this and want to share this. Esophageal frequencies, Paul, absolutely awesome. Awesome, Dina. Yeah, I'm sure you got a pretty good sense of how to regulate your frequency. Awesome. We got a 1, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 1. Awesome. Okay, so some different numbers up there. Okay, so on this slide, what's it going to be today? So I'm going to share, like I said, 10 things, 10 ways to tell if you're at a lower or high frequency and how to tell the difference. Now, I'm not going to have a chance to go into solutions today because I'll be on here for an hour today, probably 45 minutes, maybe to an hour tops. I want to try and keep it at 45 if I can. But if you're going through this live and you're thinking to yourself, I want to learn more, I want to know more how to raise my frequency, I am starting a masterclass next week on just how to do this. I will share details of that at the end of this. So if you're thinking to yourself, okay, I want to learn more, stay tuned. I've got you covered. Before I go into the 10, there's a couple of really, really important things I want to say. As I start to go through these, I want everyone to sort of sit and realize that most of this earth, most of the people on the earth are vibrating at a very low frequency. Most of us were taught how to make decisions, how to approach life, how to do life in a very low frequency. So the norm of what we see out there is very low frequency. I mean, I had to learn it all myself. And so if you see yourself, when I'm talking about a low frequency person and how they would function and operate in this world, have grace and compassion with yourself. Because anybody who's raised their frequency, certainly myself and anyone I know who it has taken work, and it's taken becoming aware of it, but have compassion, because we're taught how to function in a low frequency. That's just the bottom line. That's how our society works. And like I said, most people are vibrating at that low frequency. The second thing I wanted to say, as I go through these, what's really important to note is it's all about making decisions, okay? Whether you're low or high frequency, it's all about how you make the decisions in your life. There's a few more things to it than that, but really at its base and its core. So it's important to look at the energy behind anything and everything you do. So it's not so much about the decision itself and how you conduct yourself in life, but it's the energy in behind it. Is fear running your decisions, or is unworthiness running your decisions? That's what it's really about. So I will explain that more as I go into this. The third thing I really wanted to mention here is, as I said, most people in this world are operating at a low frequency. And what it's been kind of sold as what's realistic, what's practical, what's responsible. We have all these words around basically low frequency decisions. So if you can think of it in your career, it's staying at a career that you hate, that is sucking the life out of you because you're being responsible because you have bills to pay for your family. But it's really low frequency because you hate it, your health is suffering, and all these things. So when we see somebody who's at a really high frequency and is doing all these super cool things, the narrative that we're often given in society is they're lucky. They've got a whole bunch of connections. They were born into money, or they've got this network of people. We have all these justifications why somebody might be living this really cool, badass life. The truth of the matter is they're vibrating at a very high frequency. When you can manifest and create really amazing and cool circumstances in your life, it's not because you've had lucky breaks. You may have, but you may not have. It's irrelevant. It's your frequency. And so when somebody starts to vibrate at a higher or make decisions, people can really look at you and, wonder what you're doing and really not understand it. Does that make sense? Like, I kind of want to let everyone know, like, to change your frequency, you're not going to fit with everybody else because most people are vibrating at quite a low frequency. Awesome. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? If it's not, you can interrupt me and let me know in a message. I can see it out of the corner of my eye. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the 10 ways you can tell the difference, low and high frequency, and whether you're just using a positive mindset. I've got my list over here. I had to write it down to keep track, but here we go. Okay, number 1, keeping it real. The basis of having a high frequency really is being 100% completely honest with yourself about what's going on in your life, who you are, how you're showing up, the circumstances you have, your experiences. That is a high frequency. A high frequency person faces things head on. When they see a challenge in their life, they actually go right at it. Okay, they just like, okay, I'm going to deal with this. I might not like it. I might not know what to do right now, but I'm going to actually tackle whatever is in front of me. Now, what we see going on in this world a lot, and what we would do at a low frequency, is be in denial. We distract ourselves. We do everything to actually not look at the problem. And so when you look at, okay, if you're a person, so say you're in a situation, say you're in a job, okay? And say you've been trying to get a promotion and you've been applying on all these jobs consistently and you're getting overlooked, okay? Somebody with a positive mindset might go, well, I'm going to get the next promotion. They're going to see me. They're going to see my worth. I'm going to get the promotion. I'm up next. That's a person that is probably quite in denial and at a low frequency because they're not actually seeing what's going on. They're not seeing that the organization is never going to give you a promotion. The organization is never going to see your worth. The high frequency person would go, oh my gosh, they're not seeing my worth. I need to leave. Like, I actually need to leave. This is never going to happen. Again, that positive mindset person is going to go, no, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to put in more hours. I'm going to be awesome. And they're going to finally give it to me. That's a positive mindset. But it's actually not going to happen, right? So the first thing to do if you want to raise your frequency is to get really real and to really see. And again, this takes courage. This takes bravery. This is not something that's just going to happen naturally. Most people in this world are not facing their stuff. They're not, and they haven't been. And that's when we see a lot of our life starting to fall apart, is when we actually haven't been looking at our stuff. That's number 1. Number 2, somebody who is in a low frequency is going to be in victim consciousness, be in victimhood. They're going to be blaming everyone else around them for their circumstances, for their situation. This is how it's showing up for a lot of people right now, is they're stuck in their stories. So they've got a story about what's happened in the past, maybe some crappy situation in their life, something's gone wrong. They've been treated poorly by an employer. Their situation economically is not good. They've had some sort of hardship or, a number of hardships. We've all had that, right? There's nobody on this planet right now who hasn't had hardships. But what they're doing is they're so loyal to this hardship, to this story. They're not letting it go. And from an energetic perspective, I want to explain this. So when you increase your frequency in your body, what happens is there's a time delay. So you increase your frequency first, and then your circumstances in your future start to change, okay? But there's a time delay, which I think makes kind of sense. You change your inner world, and then your outer world changes. What happens when we hold on to our story about everything that's gone wrong in our life and the circumstances that aren't fair for us, what we do is we take that from the past, that energy of victim from the past, we actually pull it into our present. And like I said, our present energy starts to create our future reality. And so what we do is we take that low vibrational energy of victim and not being responsible for our own life, and we actually start creating our future. And right now there's a lot of people, majority of people are in victim. So how do you get out of victim? What does a high vibration person do? What you would do to increase your frequency is go, you know what? This is about keeping it real too. God, that stuff happened. That sucks. That wasn't cool. Here I am. Okay, life dealt me some crappy blows. Here I am. But I'm going to choose to do differently now. I'm going to make different decisions. I'm going to choose what I want. I'm going to choose to create what I want for my future. It's really about acknowledging what's happened in your past. But what everybody's trying to do, most people are trying to do, is they're trying to get the rest of the world to acknowledge their hardship. But the truth of the matter is, when you're at a low frequency, what you actually need to do is acknowledge it yourself. You need to see yourself and accept what's happened yourself. That's when you raise your frequency. And that's when you can start to actually create cool things in the world, because you're not letting that past dictate your future. And then by doing that, you're increasing your frequency. Number 3, if you're in a low vibrational frequency, you're in ego. And so when you look at somebody in their career, so it's staying at a company that maybe is a Fortune 500 company that looks really good on your resume because it looks good, but you hate it. But you absolutely hate it. You're miserable, but you don't want to leave it because it looks good and it makes you feel something. This also can show up. I talk to people a lot of times. They don't want to make any adjustments financially or economically, even in the short term. They're worried about driving the right car, living in the right home, all these things that are about their ego and how they're perceived. It's very, very low frequency. Now, somebody who is in a higher frequency is tapping into themselves. They're saying to themselves, God, what do I want? What does my soul really want? Maybe it's working for that little startup company that has got 3 people and might not even make it through a year, but my God, that sounds so cool and so exciting. Like it makes your heart sing. It makes your soul sing. But it's actually tapping into yourself, your true self. Your ego is there to keep you safe. Your ego, in keeping you safe, says to you, I don't want you to change. But if you want to become happy and you want to become joyful and create success and in fulfillment, there's going to be some level of change required. You cannot stay in your ego because that's just an illusion. It's not your true self. So again, tap back into yourself. Ask yourself, like, what do I want? What do I really want? What would make me happy? What would bring me joy? What would bring me fulfillment? And that's how you move out of that ego and not that perception, not the image. The image doesn't matter. The image doesn't matter. Okay, number 4, sacrifice. This is a really big one, especially, well, I think it's with everybody, but I see this a lot with women. Is this in a low frequency state? What we do is we sacrifice, we self-sacrifice. We don't make changes in our career. because we're worried about our family. We're worried about the stability or what it's going to do to the people around us. And that's beautiful. It really is. But we've been taught to sacrifice, but actually what it teaches our children actually is to sacrifice. And like, I don't know about you, but I don't want my kids to sacrifice for everyone around them. And what it really amounts to is self-abandonment. And that's what a lot of people are doing. When you self-sacrifice, when you stay somewhere for like your family or for whomever, and you give up who you are and what you want, you self-abandon. High frequency is about actually seeing yourself, honoring yourself, truly honoring yourself and saying, my needs are important. And that low frequency of, staying somewhere you hate for your family is, I don't want to discredit it because it's a really beautiful thing. And this is where that positive mindset can come in and really kind of mess us up, because we're going, well, I'm doing this for my family. And it can, you can feel really good about it in some ways, right? But what you're really doing is you're self-abandoning and you are self-sacrificing and you're not having your needs met. Moving into a higher frequency really is about having your needs met. Because guess what? When you have your needs met, you have overflow. You actually have more to give. Think about it. Your cup is full, because that's essentially what it's saying. My cup is so full that I have enough to give. I have more than enough to give. But when we self-sacrifice, we're barely getting by ourselves. That's when you get home from work and you're so exhausted that you order in and you pick a fight with your partner, or get mad at your kids because your own needs aren't getting met. And this is how it shows up. Yet for somehow in our minds, we've convinced ourselves this is what we need to do. We need to sacrifice, because again, that's what everybody's doing in society. That's what we're told to do, to sacrifice. But it keeps us in a really low vibrational state. So number 5, authenticity. And this is a word that is thrown around a lot. And it is so much deeper and bigger than most people probably realize in increasing your frequency. So at the first one I mentioned here was keeping it real. Now that's really about keeping it real with yourself. That's being about honest with yourself and going inward. Authenticity is when you are keeping it real with the outside world. So a low vibration, and this is happening everywhere. When you walk into your office, whatever your work is, or you hop on a Zoom call and you put on this mask. You put on this mask and you pretend to be somebody you're different. You don't speak your truth. You just say what's supposed to be said. You dress how you're supposed to dress. You talk like you're supposed to talk, this corporate jargon, lingo garbage, which drives me nuts if I'm being really truthful, because it's just this weird language that nobody really says what's going on. They just use the language that sounds good, but it really doesn't actually get to the heart of the issue. It's not real. It's just this weird conversation. But every time we do that, we actually lower our vibration, because we give up who we are. Think about it. Every time you give up who you are and how you show up in this world, how could you ever create fulfillment? What you're doing is sending a signal out energetically that I don't even know who I am anymore. Then how do you actually manifest and create and pull in what you really want? When the signal you're sending out is, I don't know who I am. Simply, it doesn't happen. But it's been so normalized. This is what we do. We become this separate person when we go to the office. We become the separate person in our career. Authenticity is about really showing the world who you are, speaking your truth. But this is where sometimes it can get really distorted. Speaking your truth is not about spewing, okay? This is about just saying, like, this is me. This is really me. This is who I am. This is my truth. This is what I believe. It's standing up for yourself, standing in your integrity. That's a big one. That's a huge one in raising your frequency. I know so many people value integrity, yet they show up at work being somebody completely different. That's lacking integrity, which might hurt to hear, but it's the truth. We lack integrity when we show up as somebody we're not, truthfully. Okay, the next one, self-worth. When we are in a low frequency, we are constantly trying to prove ourselves. We're doing more and more and more and more. I call it hustling for your worthiness. It's when you're in a job and they're not seeing your value. So instead of removing yourself from the situation, building your confidence and building yourself up again and finding something new or doing something new, what we do is we work harder. It's a no-win game. You will never, ever win that game. Never. What that does is keeps you in a lower. And in fact, you go lower because what you do is you exhaust yourself. You completely wear yourself down and you're exhausted and you keep yourself in that loop. So that's what the low frequency does, is it keeps us in this loop forevermore. Somebody in a high frequencies, is real with themselves. And you'll start to see these all start to intermingle, right? Somebody who's in a high frequency says, wow, they're not seeing my value. Like, I'm doing my damn best. My best isn't good enough for this company, this boss, this whatever. I need to go somewhere else. I need to do something different. And they don't get you might be angry for a moment or, annoyed or it's like, this really sucks. Again, it's about keeping real, not pretending it's not happening and just being all like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No, you want to be real about it. But then also, again, taking those steps and just going, I just need to move on. This is no longer in alignment with me. I'm not being valued. I'm not being honored, whatever that might be. This worthiness piece is huge right now for so many people. They're staying in jobs where they're not valued, they're not seen, and they're not heard. The thing is, what you have to do first in raising your frequency is seeing yourself, valuing yourself, and listening to yourself. When yourself is telling you you need to get out and you're not being valued, that's when you need to listen. But everybody is looking for everyone else to listen to them, to see them, to honor them, and all these things. Well, no, you actually have to do it yourself. That's how you raise your frequency. Once you do that, then what you do is you magnetize people in that also value you. It's all frequency. It's all frequency. We've got to stop looking to the outside world to do our work for us. That's what most people are doing right now. They're looking to the outside world to do their work for them. It's really about you and every single decision you make. Every single decision you make is either increasing your frequency or decreasing your frequency throughout your day, all the time, okay? That's not to say you're going to be able to change your frequency overnight, or should you expect yourself to. That's unrealistic. However, we need to start realizing that every decision we make actually is affecting our frequency, therefore affecting our outer reality. So number 7 is validation, which kind of I almost started talking about that in the last one. Low frequency person looks for validation from everyone around them on the decisions they make, to validate their worthiness, to validate everything. If you're thinking of making a career change, doing something different in your career, and you're waiting for everyone around you to agree with you or to understand your situation so they support you. We're sovereign beings, and somebody who's working from a higher frequency understands that the only validation that you need is your own. That's it. Full stop. All you need is your own. High frequency is understanding, and I'm going to say this again because it's so important, that we are all sovereign beings. We make the choices for our lives. We are 100% responsible for our own reality and our own circumstances. If you wait for everyone to validate you, you give all your power away and you'll never get out of your situation. You're going to stay in that low frequency. Thank you so much, Dana. I'm losing my voice this morning. My apologies. Any questions so far from anybody? I know this is a lot of information that's coming at you. A lot of information. Okay. Number 8, being triggered. If you're operating from a low vibrational frequency, you're probably noticing you're being triggered. a lot. Somebody says something to you, it upsets you, and you go into a state of anger or fear, or something, like you notice your energy basically goes off. Like you could find yourself feeling quite unbalanced. Now, somebody who is working from a higher frequency um, sees it, sees maybe there's somebody who's being disrespectful or rude or whatever it might be, and just chooses to remove themselves from the situation. So they're not triggered by it, but they're just going, this isn't working for me. I'm not going to be around this situation. Where that triggered person will stay in the fight. Will stay in the fight. So you look at it in a work scenario. Something's happening at work, and you're in there, and you want to right a wrong, and you're fighting, but not from like a higher consciousness level, like going through the system and trying to correct things. But what I mean is like coming at it from this low vibrational anger or bitterness or anything like that. When we vibrate higher, well, like I said, what we really do is we see things. We're not in denial that they're happening, but we don't let ourselves get bothered by it or get thrown off. We understand that it's about the other person or it's about the other situation, and we can be okay. We can be okay around all these situations. You look at the analogy of being an eye of the storm. When you're in a high vibration, that really is truthfully what you are. You become an eye of a storm. You can remain peaceful in all these situations. You really can. But when you are in a low vibrational state, you're being triggered. The key is to start removing yourself from those situations. Again, enough self-love, enough self-worth, enough self-value, and all those things to actually remove yourself from situations where you're being triggered, and looking at why you're being triggered. Okay. Number 9. This one's huge. I know I've said a lot of them are huge. This one's definitely huge. Control. Control, 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 control. When you are in a low vibrational state, you are clenching. You are holding on to stuff so tight. You are so vested in this one particular outcome. Like, I've got to get this job at this company, or I've got to be at this place in 5 years. I'm on this descent, this corporate ladder. I've got to get to this place at this time. That sense of control essentially means you don't have any trust. How this also shows up, and again, this one's really, really prevalent, is when you are in analysis paralysis. The way our world has been conditioned, our world, meaning you and I, is everything is from our brain. It's all logic. It's all, and if you can't go from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and just have this lovely, logical, linear sequencing, people don't take action. They don't do anything. It's this notion that everything has to make sense on paper. I have to be able to convince everybody of what I'm doing and have them see the logic. It has to be generally accepted by everybody around me, or I just won't do it. Our society and people are so in their heads right now that is keeping them so stuck. Again, okay, your head is your brain, and your brain's powerful, but your brain is also your ego. Your ego, again, doesn't want you to make change. Here's the other part of this that's so important, and this is what so many people are doing. And you know what? I've done this too, right? All these things I'm talking about, I was the low frequency at one point too. I'm still learning. I'm still evolving. You don't ever just finally get it, right? But this is what people are doing. They're planning their careers, and they're planning it on paper. It all makes perfect sense on paper. They're doing all the logical steps. I'm getting my MBA, or I'm applying at these companies, and they're doing all these things that make sense. And then they do all these things, and they get to the end of it, and they're like, I'm not really happy. I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. But if you look at the process, if you go back, when they were planning everything out, nowhere in there were they saying, what do I really want? Well, like listening to their heart. What makes me really energized? What makes me really passionate? What makes me really excited? Like, how do I want to feel each day? People aren't even looking at that. and nowhere in there. And so then we get to the point where we spent 5 years, like I said, trying to get this promotion. And then we get there and we go, God, I hate it. Hate this. Because we never even considered for a moment what we actually wanted. We never even connected with our heart. So moving into a higher vibration, and if you're wanting to do this right now, must, absolutely must start tapping into and listening to your heart. It's a balance though, okay? So it's kind of like this. Your heart decides what you want, right? You tap into that part of you in your heart, and then you got to use your brain and your logic to actually execute on it, right? So it's a balancing. But our society right now is so analytically brain focused that everyone is completely denying what they want. And this is why we have a state that we have where so many people in their careers are so unhappy, because all their decisions have had to make sense on paper, and they've had to be easy to sell. You know, I say to people when they're looking to make a career change, throw away the list, throw away that list that you have of all the things that you could possibly do. That list is a low vibrational list. That's what your brain has told you is possible. Okay, this is this practical, logical, reasonable kind of vibration that we've all been sold. Look at the people around you who are doing things that's defying logic. I mean, I'm going to bring my own situation up. I've been a single parent for 15 years. I left a 6-figure corporate job to run my own business. I've got 100% custody of my kids. I've got a mortgage to pay. Logically, that doesn't make sense. Logically, it doesn't. And, you know, there were most people when I made this decision, I kept the decision actually to myself, because I know most people would be like, you're crazy. What are you doing? And if I let my brain run the show, I wouldn't have done it. There's no way I would have. But to actually raise your frequency, you need to start listening to your heart. You need to start listening to your soul. You need to listen to those whispers and turn off that logical brain, okay? The very last one. How am I doing on time? Pretty good. Okay, last one. Polarity and duality. When we're in a low vibrational frequency, everything's black and white, right or wrong, good or bad. And we've seen this really, really prevalent in our society right now. This is really super common. The last few years especially. What it really does is it doesn't allow you to see the nuance. It doesn't allow you to see the nuance in life. When you're in a high frequency, you begin to see there's all these different perspectives. See, when you're in black and white kind of thinking, what you're really saying is this is right and this is wrong, right? So when you think of positive thinking yourself into something, what you're really doing is focusing on what is right, whether it feels right in your soul or not. But because in our society, we're told like we have to choose a side. But it can sometimes feel really wrong to choose a side. But when you're in that low vibrational frequency, you know, it's this whole thing of fitting in. Do you want to fit in with this person over here? Or do you want to fit in with this person over here? And duality really is keeping us all in separation. It's keeping us completely separated from one another. And it's actually stopping the flow of things coming into your life. Because being at a high frequency is about collaboration. It's about working together. It's about understanding that we're all connected, and how we actually create change and manifest beautiful things in our life is actually by working together. But duality keeps us in separation. We're no longer brothers and sisters working together. It's like, are you on my side? Or are you not on my side? If you're not, I don't want anything to do with you. You're wrong, or trying to convince somebody. And all that does is it just keeps us separate from each other. And that is not how we create change. And that is not how you will change your own life. When it comes to vibrational frequency, if you have a high vibration person over here and you've got a high vibration person over here, and you've got them collaborating and working together, the two of them, it's not like they can double the output. They can probably quadruple or 5 times the output. Like the frequency gets magnified like this. It's like exponential. And this is how you create amazing things in your life, right? But again, if you're in polarity and you're seeing everybody as your competition or somebody different than you, you keep yourself in this low place, and it's really hard to create change. So those are the 10 items I wanted to talk about. What I really want for you is I want you to ask yourself, what would life be like if I was vibrating at a high frequency? The best way I can describe it, and I was going to tell you my experience with it, it feels like magic. That's the only way I can describe it. Like things just start to come into your life, into your existence, out of the blue. It really can feel like it's out of the blue. This is when, you wake up in the morning and there's messages in your inbox from somebody saying, "Oh, I saw you here, and I'd love to interview you for this job," or opportunities that just come by. When you get offers for jobs or anything, the offer exceeds your expectations. These are not just stories. This is truly what happens when you're vibrating at a high frequency, because you've honored yourself. You value yourself. You're facing all your things. It's like you're showing the world, this is my true self. And the world mirrors all that value back to you. That's what this is about. At its core, raising your frequency is loving yourself at a deep and profound level, like really loving yourself. I also really love the word honor. I think honor is a word that we need to start using more. We need to honor ourselves. This is not about being selfish. This is not about self-serving at all. This is actually honoring yourself. And then the world around you reflects that honoring, and it honors you with all the opportunities and all the cool things that start to come into your world. And that's when your mindset becomes more positive too, because you're seeing all this. You just get more and more positive. So ask yourself, like, what would my life be like if I woke up in the morning excited for my day, or I woke up in the morning and there was a job offer, a promotion that I didn't even know I was being considered for? This is what happens. Somebody drops out of the blue. Like I've had people hop into my DMs and literally say to me, like, "I love your work. Can you be on my podcast?" Oh my gosh, yes, thank you. And I didn't even know they were watching me. I've had people reach out to me and say, "I've been watching you for a year. Can we hop on a call? I want to hire you." It's like, wow, okay, this is really cool. I mean, I'm doing the work and everything else, but it's really coming from this high vibrational state. So these things are possible. And I want this for you. I really want this for everybody. So I am offering, I'm doing a masterclass starting next week. It's really how to raise your energetic frequency. So I've talked about kind of like what has to happen. This is going to be a 3-part series on actually how do you do that. It's going to be in a closed scenario in a Zoom call. So it's not going to be here like on LinkedIn. 3 sessions spaced out a bit so people can start to implement what they're learning. I'm going to teach you all about energy, why this stuff works, give you some of the science behind it so it really, really lands. And then we're going to deep dive into how do you do this? How do you actually raise your frequency? And we're going to go through tangible, actionable things you can actually start to do today. And here's the thing. With frequency, the moment you even decide, I'm going to commit to raising my frequency, you've just raised your frequency. Because raising your frequency is going from victim to empowerment. And that moment you actually commit to it, you've just empowered yourself. And so there are going to be things that I teach you in this masterclass. You can literally start today and start to see results. Then we're going to talk about, well, how do you actually maneuver your career? How do you make decisions? How do you actually go forward and create the changes in your career with that high frequency? Because here's the thing, how you navigate the decisions in your career, in your life, and in your whole experience are very different than what you do and create and how you navigate everything in a low frequency. At its core, it's a completely different way of living. It's a completely way of, I can't think of a better way to describe it. Like, it's just, you show up differently, you make decisions differently, you act differently. Everything about you is different, but it's more you, and it feels really, really good. So if this is something you are interested in, oh, and by the way, I am also keeping this at a really low price point. I want to have as many people here as possible. I really want to provide this training to anybody who wants it. It's at $97 Canadian, which is like, I think 70 to 75 somewhere in there US. So super low price point. The replays will be available as well. They'll be contained on my website. So you'll be able to go back and rewatch them. We've actually also got a private LinkedIn group that's actually live right now. People can ask questions and, throughout the entire masterclass and for a bit afterwards as well, because I want you to actually be able to implement this stuff, utilize it, like take action right now. So if this is something you are interested, I'm actually going to put the link here down below. And as usual, any questions that you have, please reach out to me. Are there any questions right now before I wrap this up? If you do have a question, like I said, after this as well, you can put it down below in comments here. I will come back and check the comments here as well. Again, please feel free to DM me, message me, and if that's it, then I will wrap it up here. And I hope this was super valuable. I'd love to hear your comments. What was your key takeaway? Like, what was something you're like, okay, wow, I can really start working on today to really start to shift myself? I would love, love, love to hear about that. Talk to you soon. Take care.